Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we are stepping right past the basic textbook formulas and diving headfirst into the physical, real-world engineering of 24-volt solar security lighting. If you're the kind of person who loves getting into the nitty-gritty of how things actually work and, let's be honest, why they sometimes totally fail, well, you are absolutely in the right place. So let's kick things off with a deceptively simple question. Is a 200-watt load really just 200 watts? I mean, when you hear 4 security lights at 50 watts each, it sounds incredibly small, right? But here's the thing about power systems. These tiny little loads, they can quietly become massive 24-hour energy drains if you don't engineer for the physical realities of your hardware. That power rating printed right there on the box, yeah, that's literally just the beginning of the story. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The basic load math. 2. Real-world system losses. 3. Usable battery capacity. And finally, 4. Current and fire risks. Section 1. The basic load math. The illusion of simplicity. Okay, let's dive into this baseline. 4 lights at 50 watts each gives us a 200-watt load. Multiply that by 12 hours of overnight runtime, and bam, we get exactly 2,400 watt-hours. Now, yes, this basic math gives us 2,400 watt-hours, and it's perfectly correct in theory, but real systems are never perfect. I want you to keep that number, 2,400 watt-hours, locked in your mind for a second, because this is exactly where most of the standard advice out there just mistakenly stops. People will go out, match a battery to this exact number, and then scratch their heads wondering why their security lights go pitch black at 3 a.m.
Section 2. Real-world system losses, the hidden tax.
Right, so our energy is about to get taxed. If we use an inverter to power these lights, we absolutely have to account for conversion losses. The inverter isn't some magical, frictionless pass-through device. Think of it more like a toll booth. It literally takes a cut of your power just to keep its own internal circuits awake. So it acts as this constant, hidden overnight drain. To put some numbers to it, a typical inverter operates at about 90% efficiency. That means 90% of the energy from your battery actually makes it out to your lights, while the other 10%, it's lost completely to heat and conversion waste. So, to guarantee our required 2,400 watt-hours, we actually have to take our load and divide it by the 0.90 efficiency rating. And wow, just look at this jump. We went from 2,400 straight up to 2,667 watt-hours. This single calculation is exactly why sizing for the nameplate energy leads to dead batteries. If you bought a battery sized perfectly for 2,400 watt-hours, your inverter's 10% tax would drain it completely dry way before the sun ever came up. No way around it. Section 3. Usable battery capacity, rated versus real. So moving logically to the next step, let's convert that into physical battery size. Dividing our real-world demand of 2,667 watt-hours by a 24-volt system gives us approximately 111 amp-hours. But there's a pretty huge catch here. This 111 amp-hours is our required usable energy, and as any seasoned builder knows, usable is rarely the same thing as the rated capacity printed on the battery sticker. And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference in true solar engineering. On one hand, we've got our calculated capacity straight from our raw math, but on the other, we have usable capacity, which is entirely dictated by safe discharge limits. You see, draining a battery down to absolute zero every single night will physically destroy it. We have to enforce safety limits to protect the lifespan of our gear. Just look at how wildly depth of discharge, or DOD, alters the actual physical batteries you need to buy. For lithium iron phosphate, using a safe 80% limit means dividing 111 by 0.8. That requires roughly a 139 amp-hour battery. But traditional lead acid, it only allows a 50% drain without taking permanent damage. That pushes our requirement to a massive 222 amp-hours. It's the exact same lights, the exact same runtime, but a completely different physical footprint just based on chemistry constraints. Crazy, right? Section 4. Current and fire risks. The stakes escalate. Let's shift gears and look at a crucial electrical formula. I equals P divided by V. Current equals power divided by voltage. So at 24 volts, our 200-watt load draws a continuous 8.3 amps of current. Actually, remember that inverter tax we talked about? Once we factor in those system losses, our real input current from the battery actually sits right around 9 to 10 amps, and that's pulling continuously for 12 hours straight. Now,
10 amps might not sound like a huge deal, but in low voltage systems, current is literally everything. 10 amps continuously generates a really significant amount of heat in low voltage cables if they aren't properly sized.
So, the crucial point is we have to respect these compounding dangers. Undersized cables, they cause massive voltage drops, which means dim lights or a highly unstable inverter. Missing battery fuses, that creates a severe fire risk if a short circuit happens. Over-discharging lead acid causes permanent sulfation. And ignoring that inverter idle draw silently kills your batteries night after night. Designing for safety isn't just a suggestion, it actively protects you against these very real physical risks.
This brings us to a really powerful statement. In low-voltage power systems, silent failure is the most dangerous kind. If you only size for watts and completely ignore voltage, current, heat, and those sneaky conversion losses, your system probably isn't going to explode right away. It'll just fail, silently, over time. True engineering is all about making sure your light stays stable, safe, and fully efficient for that entire 12-hour runtime, year after year. As a quick wrap-up, please remember that electrical work is inherently dangerous. This explainer is strictly for educational purposes, so always consult a professional for your own installations. But as you evaluate your own off-grid setups, I want to leave you with this thought to chew on. Are you just designing your systems for the wattage written on the side of the box, or are you actually engineering them for the hidden physics of the real world? Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next explainer.